Hello everybody, I'm SJM. Welcome back to Terra Firma Crafts, the all the mods Gravitas version here in 1.18. Today we're going to talk a little bit about mining and a little bit about planning for the future because we are rapidly approaching a change in season here. So we are now into late summer. August 8th, this is actually the last day of summer now because each month has 8 days. So when we get into tomorrow, it'll be early autumn, will be September 1st. So just to note that there. Talking about mining, obviously I pointed this out earlier, but we're going to need to pay attention to geology and the ores and minerals chapters in the world section. And then we can also just go over this quickly here. So the small pieces of the ores on the ground are typically found. And I thought it was in here, but within 15 blocks of an ore vein underneath. That's what I remember anyways. I thought it was in here, but maybe not. Maybe I pulled that off of the wiki, or maybe that's a 1.12 version thing. But yeah, I thought it was within like 15 blocks of the surface type of thing. The other thing we have for finding ore veins is the prospector's pick, which will tell you about the presence of ores within a 25 by 25 by 25 radius of the block that you click on. So just note that that's actually a radius of 12. So this only goes 12 blocks down, not 25 blocks down, because it's 12 down and 12 up from where we're looking. So we've got these sphalerite pieces on the ground here. I picked up a few of them to take back to my base, but I left one here, so just for me to look, and I used my prospector's pick there, found nothing. Found nothing. Found nothing. Should be around here somewhere. Nope, keep finding nothing. I'm guessing that when I was in this area earlier and picking up the sphalerite pieces, I didn't kind of bother to pop up here and look around, because I came up here just wondering what was going on, and I ended up finding a bunch more on the ground up here. So maybe the vein is up this way a little bit more, but keep prospecting, still finding nothing. So I thought, well, maybe it is a little bit deeper down into the ground, so I started digging a hole to go down to find out. So started digging down, and I just wanted to stop here to have a little prospect around, still finding nothing. Just note there is a spider spawner just down there, so I kind of got lucky there. That'll be something for me to take note of for a little bit later. But kept going down, and I started hitting sphalerite as I was coming down, so I knew I was getting a little bit closer. And then when I got into this, very large sample range, I knew I was right close. So this is about I would probably go down until I got back to large from very large. So very large there, very large, small. So somewhere down there when it started petering off again, then I know I'd have to come back up to start digging around. But I actually kind of landed right on top of it there. So I know pretty much about where the sphalerite chunks are, and these are... What kind of samples are they? Where did it go? There it is. Normal sphalerite. So the ores in the walls will have different kinds of richness to them. So there's poor, normal, and rich sphalerite, or well, for all of them, right? And this worked out perfectly for us here. And just note that falling rock sound there we had a second ago. The poor versions will give you 15 millibuckets per piece, normal 25, and rich 35. So this kind of opens up a whole lot of different possibilities for making alloys in the future, but also kind of throws a little bit of wrench in the thing when you want to make, exactly X hundred ingots or millibuckets when you want to make perfect ingots. So that being what it is, we'll move on to the next biggest thing, which I just hinted at a second ago. I broke that block there and I heard like some rocks tumbling in the distance. Those are potential cave-ins. Cave-ins are the biggest part of mining in Terra Firma Craft, so we need to do something about that, which is putting up these supports. Supports are made by putting a saw in your crafting grid with 2 logs, and 2 logs will give you 8 supports at the end of it all, and it is shaped. Oh, they've made it shapeless now? It was shaped in 1.12, but looks like in 1.18 now they've made it shapeless to avoid too much confusion. Just note that they do have to be the same kind of logs. You can't mix logs because these end up being chestnut supports. So if you've got ash wood or birch or whatever, then you can't mix and match them to make the supports. Although you can mix a chestnut support and a birch support to form a supporting structure. To make the supporting structures, you're going to need to like put them in a pretty, how can I say, logical pattern, right? I guess is what I'm looking to say. Oh, there's some more sphalerite right there. I'm just going to grab this one before I put down the supports. And then fill that one back in. Let's just make a piece of cobblestone. My inventory is really super clogged now, but if you put 1 support down there, it'll automatically build up 3 high for you, just to note that. And then the next support there. And then a third one like that there, so you've got this, arch type of support. These supports will stabilize up to 1 block above and below, so I can now mine this block here safely and this block here safely, as well as 4 in each of the cardinal directions. So we can go this way 4, this way 3 more, because this would be the first one, right? We could go this way up to 4 and this way up to 4. And that will keep all of these stable. So usually what I do when I figure out which way I want to go, I'll start digging these out like this and start putting in more supports immediately. So 2, 3. Sometimes you can go a little bit further, but you start to get into trouble if you do that, because if you do get a cave-in, the cave-ins can actually collapse your supports, and you can get trapped inside here or even die because of the cave-ins. So we'll just put that down there, and then that down there, and then we're good to go. Dig out all of this area here. We can keep going down if we think that we need to, which I probably do, because this is kind of the top of the vein here in my guesstimation. But that's kind of where we are starting there. So I'll bring you back in the next minute or two to show you the next one, the next little bit for mining here. So be back in a second there, folks. So first place I was looking for some of this sphalerite, which is zinc, by the way. I had, found it on the ground there, kind of around this little Badlands pillar here, round down there, kind of all over the place. And then my prospecting pick was actually picking up malachite, which I didn't find any samples on the top of, and I find that really weird. and wasn't understanding exactly why, but as I started going down here, there was lots of malachite all over the place. I kind of took a diversion over here to see if I could find anything over that way. It just said found nothing. So, and the other thing we can do when we come over here is use our Zeros minimap to look at the cave systems underneath us, because that's going to be a really can really throw a wrench into your plans when you're digging down, especially if you're digging down one at a time, which, you know, the cardinal rule of Minecraft, but I still do it. We've got the ladders to get up and out if worse comes to worse, but way down at the bottom here, see that says found nothing, but there is actually a very large sample of sphalerite somewhere around here, so I may start digging down here for that sphalerite, because we'll be able to combine this with a copper mine with some zinc, or with some malachite up here on the higher levels. So just to note there, you can actually get, you know, a little bit of bang for your buck in your mining operations if you happen to find two things in the same kind of general vicinity. And that was just pure luck, because I originally hadn't seen any malachite samples on the top here, but they started showing themselves when I started using the prospector's pick. And then I'll just come over here and go over the third little bit that I wanted to say about the starting up your mining operation, and that's, you know, pretty much when you're using your prospector's pick, sometimes you can get an idea of where you want to dig down to find the items, and that happened to me over here. Actually, I think I need to drink some water. And I do need to get some food here quickly, but we'll do that when we get back home, which is where I'm headed straight after this little explanation here. So this, where I was finding malachite here, ended up being quite extensive. Like we kept finding it, I kept finding it way over here. It was all over the place here, there. But as I was using my pick on the ground, traces, and I actually found a small sample here, and then over here we get either nothing or traces, and then I just kind of did it in this direction here as well. Small sample around here and traces out here, nothing over there, so on and so forth. So I kind of zeroed in on where I wanted to start digging down, and lo and behold, as I dug down right on top of the vein here. So you'll find it scattered around kind of in this pattern. It's not going to be every single block all over the place, like say maybe the Geolysis mod, if any of you have played with that one. Terraformacraft does it a little bit different, similar but a little bit different. It's a little bit more sparse than what the Geolysis ore veins turn out to be, but that's where my malachite mining will be done down here, so I'll be able to get tons of copper for the next part of the progression in Terraformacraft. So we'll throw it on a pause and we'll speak about food and preparing for the winter season. So we're now into early autumn, so I've got basically 24 days until winter hits proper, because 3 months, 8 days each month. It'll be here before we know it. Actually, do I have any food on me? I got a little bit of food. I'm moving slower right now because of my hunger was too low, so I'll just sacrifice a couple of pieces of grain there so that I can move a little bit more freely. And yeah, I'll bring you guys back when I do get back home. So we're back home here. I've started up a little bit of farming. Just to note that sometimes if you get your farmland too close to the water with 100% hydration, your crops aren't gonna like it. Like if I planted this rye over here, it would say it's too high and it won't grow any. So just one thing to note on growing crops there. I've also focused a lot on gathering some grains recently. show you why in a second here. Actually, we'll pull out these 3 and say 1 more of those. Actually, no, I don't need 4 of those, because I managed to bring myself over a couple of sheep. As we get towards winter, we're going to want to get some insulated clothing. Insulated clothing requires string, and I brought these guys over here obviously before I had even found that spider spawner, but now that I have that spider spawner, we might look into maybe farming that for some string. But I got these guys in a pit here, and we can just feed them some grains to get them tamed. Although I don't know why the familiarity is not changing on these guys as I'm feeding them, so not sure on that there. There's nothing in the book about that normally, like immediately. I think it's in... Here, it just tells you like which kind of food that you want, but you know, we want woolly animals to shear so that we can get the wool, which we can put on spindles, and we can use a loom to get string eventually. But the one thing I wanted to say about, you know, luring these sheep back from where I brought them in, I brought them like from what, like maybe 75 or 100 blocks away. It was a massive pain to do that. So you're going to want to make a lead. It's going to be a better way to do that. The thing about leads in Terra Firma Craft is they're made from jute fiber. So remember in episode 1, I think I found some jute right away. So that was pretty fortunate in that I could now get some of this and make it relatively easily, but you might have to look on your exploration, you might have to go back and find some more of this stuff so that you can make yourself the leads. The jute fiber is made in a barrel, so just 200 millibuckets of water in a barrel with 1 piece of jute will get you jute fiber in 8 minutes. The barrels are not hard to make at all, they're just like that. So you just have to do that, get your wooden bucket, put some water into the barrel, however much jute that you want to do. You just make sure you have 200 millibuckets per piece of jute that you want to do, right? And then the other thing that I did while I was out and about is I found a small group of wolves, dogs, and just during the daytime I cornered them up against a wall, sort of like this, and I put myself up 2 blocks with my loam mud bricks, and I had a spear and I just speared them down while it was safe, because 2 times already I've been killed by packs of wolves because, you know, I've had my head down looking for ore samples and then not looking at the mini-map enough and run straight into a pack of wolves, which are by far the worst things to run into just because there's so many of them. And even if you retreat into some water, which is the general way you're going to be handling the predators in the early game, like you just come into some water and you can handle them pretty easily, like bears or saber-toothed tigers or whatever you happen to run into. If they're just one at a time, you can hold them off pretty good there. But the wolves, for some reason, seem to have some sort of jumping mechanism while they're in the water, and they can get right on top of you real quick. I don't know if it's because they jump off of each other or what the case is there, why they're so dangerous. So the last thing I'm going to talk about today is food. We can take a look at my nutrition here. My vegetables are going up real fast, and I've actually started to get some grains going as well because I've got the kern, of which I made the flatbread, or I made the dough in the last episode there, and I just put the dough into a charcoal forge here because I could do 5 at a time and they cook really, really fast in there. So that's the way. You just have to make sure that you're paying attention. You pull them out before they overcook and burn off, but that's not a problem when I did like 14 at a time. We're going to make sandwiches here. Let's just get rid of some of the stuff that's clogging up my inventory here so that I can get stuff into my inventory. So take a couple of some flatbreads, some of these beets, and some of this cabbage. In a crafting bench, you need a knife. And we'll need 2 pieces of bread. Then you can put 3 pieces like that, or you can mix and match your vegetables as well. You can't put fruit in the sandwiches. I think I did that in 1.12, but it doesn't appear that we can do that anymore. But I'm pretty sure that we can do meat. I just haven't bothered to go and get meat, so you can actually bring up 3 different food categories at the same time with the sandwiches. But these sandwiches are quite filling as well, so they're pretty nice, and this is kind of the first step in doing your food things. Doesn't fill you up a lot, but it does give you a lot in your on your progression bar here to bring yourself up, and also to increase your overall health total down there. So that was everything for this episode. I do appreciate everybody checking it out. Oh, also for tools, you can't put tools in your chests. They won't go in, but if you make a tool rack, then you've got a place to hang your tools when you don't need them. So that's another little trick for you folks out there. Back to the outro. Appreciate you all, and we will see you in the next one.